Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Deal with D and J. I'm co-host Jake Pro. Alongside me is the delightful DJ McCatherine. DJ, how are we feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Happy Cinco de Mayo to those who celebrate the great American holiday that we have just brought along just to be able to drink, which I have done all day today. And shout out, never heard of the coconut cream? Creamy coconut?
Dr. Pepper, founded in the zero sugar, which was the hardest thing to find. Basically, have you ever had like a dirty soda, DJ, like a swig? Have you been to a swig?
No, but I have put like a coconut cream into a Dr. Pepper flavored.
Same concept into soda now, and it is life-changing.
A scale of 1 to 10.
Probably 8.7.
And what's a 10? What's a 10 for you? Like, what's a 10 Dr. Pepper soda?
Probably the cream soda one.
It's so good.
That's probably number one.
It is so good. It's diabolical how good that one is. So, you know what? Dr. Pepper, sponsor us.
Yeah, that'd be
Please.
pretty big. That'd be a massive sponsorship. But let's dive into some playoff NBA talk here. We'll obviously try and go as quickly through the first round that we can. We talked about a bunch of series prior, so I don't feel like we need to dive into those again. But we should dive into the weekend. And that was Boston and 76ers went to a Game 7 in which, in a stunning fashion, the 76ers come out on top. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and even Paul George gave you quality points out of your starting five, which is what you need. And they took down the Boston Celtics. And before we
In Boston.
Before we touch upon everything that happened with Boston, with Philadelphia, let's talk about everything that happened with Boston. In this game for Boston, they also did not start Jason Tatum. He had an issue with his calf, and out of an abundance of precaution, they did not play him. Whether that's the right move is yet to be seen.
I'm raising my flag. That is the wrong move. I'm sorry. It is Game 7. That is the wrong move, Jacob. Whether or not it's the game, if he didn't rupture something, if they're not for a fact sure that he ruptured something, put him on the floor. Like, I want the Tyrese Halliburton type energy, right? Where you're hurting, but your team needs you. It is Game 7. Jason Tatum needs to play in this game. I'm sorry. He does. Shame on the Celtics, or maybe shame on Tatum. I don't know who gets the last call for something like this, but if it's Tatum, I don't want you on my team anymore. I need you to give it all and then some.
And it's even more so, like, Nikola Vucevic didn't play, and that was supposed to be a guy that was supposed to contribute in, like, a Porzingis type of role. DJ, they only had 2 starters that scored points. You trotted out a starting 5 of Luka Garza, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Ron Harper, and Bailey Shireman. And Shireman, Ron Harper Jr., and Luka Garza had 0 points in the entire game. And Peyton Pritchard had 13, Quaida had 17, and Hauser had 11. They shot terribly in the fourth quarter, and especially in clutch time. They couldn't get the job done. Jaylen Brown and Derek White were having to do miracle work and try and put the team on their back. I mean, Jaylen Brown had 33 and Derek White had 26. Only 5 guys with points. Again, 76ers, only, the starting 5 and only 1 guy off the bench gave you points. Only one of them actually gave you significant minutes as well. So, like, these teams had to rely on their starting 5. They didn't have depth. They weren't there. And I think when you look at Boston, the greater question is, where do you go from here, right? The mentality is, I'll let you talk here in a segment, like, if the mentality is, this was supposed to be a punt year, and we got the 2 seed, and, like, all this stuff. And I was like, no, it's not a punt year when Tatum comes back with 25 games left. You guys get the 2 seed, and, like, in the East, you guys are the prohibitive favorite to go to the finals. And, like, I think Joe Mazzulla's a great coach. I think he did not prepare well. I think he said in his press conference, he was like, yeah, we didn't prepare well for Joel Embiid. And it's like, he was like, Joel Embiid changed the entire series. And I was like, you knew Joel was going to come back. You just acknowledged that you didn't have a good enough plan to stop that. And it wasn't even Joel. Like, Joel gave you 34, but Tyrese Maxey had 2 clutch buckets at the end. And when it's Tyrese, it's Maxey's team. So, I think with Boston, the question is how much longer can this window go? And honestly, the question is, like, can you run back the Tatum and Brown experiment again? Because, like, both guys without each other are great, and even when they're with each other, I don't think there's enough ball for them. And so, like you've been to 2 finals with them, you've won 1, and, like, you've had a bunch of disappointment getting back to the finals again since you won it. So, DJ, talk to me about what you feel like this means for Boston.
I mean, for Boston, I think the Game 7 starting lineup, like, it's honestly confusing to me. Because you had 3 people come off the bench with 30-plus minutes played in this game. Like, I don't know why Ron Harper started. Played 4 minutes, one field goal attempt, 1 3-point attempt. He had 2 steals. And then you had Luka Garza 0 for 2 from 3. Had a turnover. Had a block on defense. Like, I don't know why they started when you basically had the intent of taking them out and putting somebody like Sam Hauser or Peyton Pritchard in the game. Like, Joe Mazzulla is a tremendous coach, but I don't know if it actually made the difference that these people started, right? But it just seems like the dynamic was weird. And Joel Embiid coming back definitely made a difference. I mean, in 4 games, 28, 9, and 7, Jacob. Like, on a team that was down 3-1, right? Tyrese Maxey balling out, right? Could not do it himself. Who is the power forward for the 76ers? Oh my gosh. It starts with an H. I'm sorry, he's not on that team anymore. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the wrong person, excuse me. You know, Paul George played less of a factor for the 76ers in this whole series than I thought he would have. You know, Kelly Oubre played a lot less of a role, especially in the Game 7 performance, than I would have thought of. VJ Edgecombe, for sure, stepped up in this Game 7. But I really think the difference maker is Joel Embiid in this series. As soon as he came back, like, how much can you prepare for a guy coming back from, what was it, appendicitis? What Joel Embiid was going through before this? You know, and I saw it in Game 1 Monday, that, like, he's still in pain from all of that. And then not only that, but you get the freshest 4 games out of him coming out of that surgery. Like, that's brutal. And he dominated, decimated that Celtics team. Like, he was the game changer. And, like, obviously you probably over-prepare as a team, right? Like, when you prepare for Joel Embiid, you prepare for Joel Embiid as for what he is at his top, right? But did anybody expect this level performance out of him, especially with such a short turnaround? Me personally, no, absolutely not. Would not have been me. And obviously the Knicks and, you know, they decimated that team Monday. But I don't know. This Celtics team's got a lot to figure out. I mean, the lack of Porzingis, you know, and the stretch 5, I feel like really bothers them. This is a team that shoots a tremendous amount of threes, and I feel like have been bailed out in the past by their ability to have big men down low that are effective, and I just don't think that they have that person anymore. Like,
I think
Baylor Shireman is not it.
Like, I think when you look at Boston, they're missing Horford, Porzingis. Like, those are 2 big pieces in their paint that was a big deal. And granted, when they won the NBA championship, like, Porzingis wasn't really as big of a factor as we thought he would. But, like, that Game 1, Porzingis was different. Blocking shots. He had a stretch where he scored 8 points and he was, like, unstoppable. But, like, Luka Garza wasn't it. Shireman was doing great. You yo-yo him in this series, and, like, he doesn't get you anything tonight. I mean, in that game, Hugo Gonzalez, same thing. And I just think when you look at it from Boston's perspective, it's just another missed opportunity in the window. That Tatum and Brown, and Derek White, you fought hard to bring back, and, like, you have the pieces. I think Joe Mazzulla did an incredible job with the team that he had in the regular season, but in the regular season, this was not the team for them, and they kind of wilted, And then Jaylen Brown went on Twitch and did a whole thing being like Joel Embiid flops and like this is my favorite year playing basketball because I was the number one option basically. Like such loser talk. But moving on here, DJ, let's talk about the Nuggets. The Nuggets lose in 6 to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Without Anthony Edwards.
Without Anthony Edwards as well. So big deal there. I'm trying to pull up the game 6 here, so give me a moment. They just gave them the business, man. Jaden McDaniels, they may have KD, they may have guys, but we got Jaden McDaniels. Such a cold mind to give. When you look at Minnesota, man, they're frisky. They are so frisky. They added some of these depth pieces that have really panned out for them in dividends right now. Like Terrence Shannon Jr. is giving you incredible efficiency. Jaden McDaniels had a 32 in Game 6. Julius Randle is doing his thing. Rudy Gobert is doing what he does, cleaning up the boards and affecting shots. And then you had Naz Reid, and you had the Ayo Damonsu is another key piece, and then you add back an Ant to now the start of this Spurs series, and they steal Game 1 of the Spurs series. This Minnesota Timberwolves team is more than I think the Nuggets wanted to reckon with. But Jamal Murray, I think it's time to move on. That guy took some of the worst shots I've ever seen in the late part of games. And it wasn't just Game 6. It was Game 1 or Game 2, where he was taking terrible shots. He had to get a shot up, and instead of getting like a nice, clean, easy mid-range, he forced a step-back 3 that wasn't there. Nikola Jokic is doing incredible stuff, but again, the Nuggets fired Malone for no reason, and now they've been stuck in this ebbs and flow of their franchise. And again, it goes back to I think it proves in the NBA how hard it is now to go back-to-back. I mean, OKC might do it, but that's also because I think SGA is just flopping all over the place like a fish. But, it's one of those things where I think when you look at Denver, it's very similar to Boston of, we have Jokic, who's his Hall of Famer. You have Jamal Murray, who's a great secondary. You gave them all these great role pieces of Cam Johnson and Christian Braun and Valanciunas, right? And, even Tyus Jones is not even a bad pickup. You brought back Bruce Brown via trade, and, you just got absolutely dogged and mogged by freaking Jaden McDaniels, bro. Without Anthony Edwards, too. So, if you're the Nuggets, you have to take a long, hard look at yourself about where we're going here as a franchise. To be honest with you, I think you may need to rip the Band-Aid. I think you may need to find some new role pieces, but I think the window's closed in Denver. I don't see, I love Jokic and people are starting to disrespect him, but he's playing at such an elite level that it's pretty impressive to do it this consistently. But it's also this is not a good look to be bounced in the first round by an Anthony Edwardless Minnesota Timberwolves team.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like you mentioned, I don't think that the role players are doing enough. Jamal Murray, even in this series, averaged 23, 5, and 5. That's a solid number 2 performance. He just, when it mattered the most, he didn't show up. Game 3 loss, 16 points, 0 for 5 from 3. Game 1, they actually won that game. He had 30 points, but was 0 for 8 from 3. Game 6, 12 points, 0 for 2 from 3. And I watched those last 2 3-pointers that he took. One of them, Jacob, booty, butt, naked, wide open. Booty, butt, naked, wide open. And he just flopped. He's not consistent enough with the 3-ball. He's not taking enough 3-point shots, right? In Game 2, had 30 points, was 6 of 14 from 3. That's not horrible. I could live with that, right? Especially if you're dropping 30 points. Game 4 in the loss, had 30 points. Was 3 for 7 from 3, just under 50%. Excuse me. They struggle on, again, the 3-point side of basketball, and I think really that's what they need to hit in this offseason. I'm not totally for just dropping Jamal Murray off, and just giving up on him. Because, again, I think he plays valuable minutes. I think he puts valuable points on the board. But what the Nuggets need to do, and they kind of did this with Cam Johnson, is I just think they need a more consistent and or more three-point shooters. Like, I just don't think that Cam Johnson is enough. And I'm going to look up his stats in this series right now.
It's not even just like, Cam Johnson. I mean, Christian Braun's been a key piece for them ever since he came out of Kansas. Like, you added some of these big names, and I just think when you look at Denver, I just think it comes down to coaching, and just some of these guys are just not built to do this right now. Pull up Christian Braun's stat, and then let's move on to talking a little bit about some of these second-round matchups that we now have.
Yeah. Timberwolves. Christian Braun, 9-5-1 is what it looks like through 4 games. Well, this is all-time. Excuse me.
Doesn't matter. It's simply not enough. It's simply not enough for Denver, regardless of what that point total ends up coming out to be for. Yeah, simply not enough.
No.
Let's quickly as possible, obviously we'll dive deeply into some other stuff here, but a lot of the series have started, so by the time this episode comes out, we're probably in the Game 3 or Game 4 of the series. But let's start with 76ers-Knicks. Probably the most intriguing matchup.
Knicks dominated Game 1.
Yeah,
Knicks
but I think it's the most.
Game 1.
I think it's the most intriguing matchup out of the 4. Obviously, if Lakers Thunder, if Doncic comes back, I think that immediately just becomes like must-watch TV. Excuse me. But Knicks 76ers, this Knicks team, the window is now to get to the NBA Finals. The path has never been more open and more easier than right now. This team of the Knicks, top to bottom, is going to overwhelm the 76ers. I think the Sixers make it close. I think you look at a 6-game series, right? But Brunson, Hart, Bridges, Cat, and OG are just, I think, going to be too much for Maxey and those guys to handle without, them getting some crazy performances in some other parts, right? So, and I look at the Sixers, and it's a beat, and like, they were in there in Game 1, man. But it was not remotely close in the second half.
Brunson dominated that game. Brunson had 27 at the half. He got everything to hit in this game.
Yeah, he had 35.
The firepower from this Knicks team when they're hot is hard to beat. But I'm not gonna put it past this 76ers team. Like, I think they could piece together some games here. If Cat has an off game, and let's just say that they can lock up Brunson, right? And like, if they can force one person to make them win, like, I think the 76ers can, Joel Embiid definitely at the centerpiece of this. Tyrese Maxey doing what he can do. And Joel Embiid can get boards. Paul George, if he plays the defense that everybody knows he can. And then Kelly Oubre kind of adds that spice on both sides of the ball where he is effective on offense and effective on defense. Is not going to be the star caliber of the 3 people that I just mentioned. But I don't know, Jacob. I mean, the Knicks historically fold aggressively, right? And I think if there's a team in this series that they fold against, I think it's the 76ers team. I'm not saying that's going to happen.
I just don't see it. I just think this tear the Knicks are on is just, it's too much. I think Cat's playing his best basketball right now. I love what he does and stretches the team out. That's the one thing Boston didn't seem to have an answer for, is an answer for Joel Embiid. Well, they have Cat, right? Tyrese Maxey's getting matched up on Mikal Bridges, right? BJ Edgecombe's getting met with, like, Josh Hart or somebody like that. Like, Paul George gets OG, and it's like Jalen Brunson gets the weakest defender on Philly. So I think when you match up starting 5s, it's just overwhelmingly the Knicks, and the Knicks have way more depth than I think the 76ers have. And the 76ers, historically, when they've won games in Boston, against Boston, like, Andre Drummond had to have a really good game. And then it's like, again, you're looking at these big performances. And I think when you look at the Knicks, you may not need big performances if it's all just pretty consistent, and it helps when Jalen Brunson hits 50% of his threes and shoots 66 from the field. Like, and you have Cat cleaning up everything on the glass, OG stretching the defense with Bridges, and then you have Josh Hart, who's a defensive menace, and then he can hit the occasional 3. And your starting 5 is a hard thing for any team to overcome when they're getting 35 plus minutes a game. I think I need to watch a little bit more Knicks ball, especially this series. and pay attention a little bit more. I watched this first game, but the only thing I kept thinking about was just like Philadelphia wasn't like physically ready for this series. And because they came off of that. And I think the Knicks getting Atlanta and having the wake-up call that Atlanta gave them, I think this Knicks team is going to be a little bit hard to beat. I still think it goes 6. I think it goes the Knicks' way. Like, again, I think that, like, the lane is open for them to get to the finals because you don't have to beat the big bad of Boston. And obviously, let's jump up to the upper part of that bracket, Detroit-Cleveland. Detroit survives a Game 7 against Orlando Magic. Ironically, run the same series back from when they played, I think in like 2002 or whatever, when they won, where the Magic had a 3-1 lead. Literally, they won the same games and lost the same games, DJ. It's freaky.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was freaky. And so they blew a 3-1 lead, the Orlando Magic. I think part of it was coaching, not having Franz Wagner hurt, but Desmond Bane was good, but then Paolo took a step back and Wagner didn't step up. For the Magic, it didn't go the way that they were projecting the team to go, and that's unfortunate for them because they were a really fun team in these playoffs. But Cade Cunningham's starting to come into his own, right? You always worry with young teams like this, like the moment's going to be too big for them. They're not going to be able to handle the pressure. But Cade saw 3-1 and chose to step up, right? I think he had 30-plus points in each of those games in the elimination games. I mean, he put the team on his back. I think one game he had 45. In Detroit now, again, I'm still super worried about the depth. You're relying on Tobias Harris to be, a key contributor to your offense. It's yikes. That's a little bit scary, but I like them defensively. Jalen Duran they're cleaning up the boards. He currently has 10.5 rebounds in this series, or in the playoffs, I think. So, it just comes down to when I look at Game 1 here, because Game 1 just happened. I just look for, when I'm talking about Detroit, and then we'll touch upon Cleveland here in a second, I just like the depth that Detroit has more than Cleveland. Part of it also, I can't trust James Harden. He has 43 turnovers, DJ, in 8 playoff games so far. That's nearly 6 turnovers a game. This one tonight, he had 7 turnovers, DJ, in a 10-point game. He gave Detroit an extra 7 opportunities, an extra 14 potential points, right?
Yeah.
And again, I've talked about this with Donovan Mitchell of can he rise to this big star's occasion, and can the Cavs do that to get out of the second round, right? Something they haven't done since LeBron. So they actually haven't done it with LeBron or Wilkins, I think, since forever. But I look at the differences with Detroit, and it's just the rebounding is probably the biggest thing that stands out to me defensively. Of Isaiah Stewart and Hamlin and Jenkins, I think give them a big boost. But it's really Cade Cunningham who I look at. He had 23. Tobias Harris had 20. So again, this team is really relying on if Tobias Harris is there, they're gonna win. If Tobias Harris isn't there, they're probably gonna lose. So, he's a pretty big piece. Duncan Robinson's whatever. He gets his points. He does what he does. 5 of 8 from 3 tonight. But my biggest question mark, DJ, do you have any, before I move on to Cleveland, you got any analysis on Detroit here?
On Detroit, not specifically. Obviously, Cade Cunningham has stepped up aggressively. Tobias Harris, he was actually the person I was looking for the Sixers, and then I forgot that he was traded. It was with Detroit. But all of their players are contributing quite well. Every one of their starters in double figures. Dennis Jenkins, coming in clutch, a 5 of 13 from the field, adding 12 points to them. But I think what I want to note most in this, at least Game 1 analysis, is just the starting times, or the amount of minutes that their starters played on the floor for Cleveland, right? I feel like most of the starters in any series that I've looked at so far, with the exception of the 76ers in the Knicks Game 1, their starters are playing close to 40 minutes, and Mobley, Harden, and Mitchell played 35 minutes in Game 1. That's a lot of time, don't get me wrong, but when you're looking for the maximum efficiency of your team, and Cleveland has some good depth, but Strus was the only one who really did anything off the bench, and he's a very easy replacement for James Harden, who did have 22, but also, like you mentioned earlier, had 7 turnovers in Game 1. So, I don't know. I feel like you got to play your starters longer than what they've been in for. I mean, Jared Allen coming off of a great Game 7 against Toronto, played 18 minutes. Dean Wade, who's been a crucial three-point threat for you, played 28 minutes, only shot 2 3-pointers. Only 2 in this game. And then at the end of it, I caught a glimpse of it before we hopped on this podcast, and it just seemed like the energy for Cleveland was low. Almost like they were not ready to come into this series, almost like the 70s. Because again, I believe that they have the talent to win this series. Again, you mentioned the depth of Detroit, and it is an issue. But if you can't get enough motion out of your starters, I don't think you can go through the series. You can't rely on your bench to get you through these games. Like, you rely on them for support, but your starters need to get you through it. So
I think when I look at Cleveland, it is like minutes is a problem. And I say this to every team. You can't win rolling 11 deep. You got to shrink that bench down, man. Like, there should be no reason why 5 people on the bench are averaging double-digit minutes. Like, when you look at Detroit, like, you have your main guy coming off the bench. You had Green and LeVert combined for 12 minutes with themselves. And then, like, Holland and Stewart. Like, you have your big 3. I think Robinson and Thompson got into some foul trouble. So, like, that's where Green and LeVert came in. Like, you're looking at Thomas Bryant, 10. Schroeder, 16. Truce, 28. Earl, 7. Tyson, 18. Keon, 11. And then it's like Jared Allen had 18. Jared Allen in the Game 7 game was amazing. Amazing. And then he has 2 points. Dean Wade, 28 minutes. And then Mobley, Harden, and Mitchell had 35. Like, we're not putting them on a snap count in the regular season. These guys need to be out for 40-plus minutes.
Right.
Like, and I hate to say it, DJ, like, I'm back to the same conversation that I had to you last year about Donovan Mitchell.
Come on now, Jacob.
He can't get out of the second round.
He is such a contrary factor to the entirety of the team, dog.
DJ,
the entire team.
DJ,
like, this is game 1, 23 points.
DJ, the way we dog on all the other stars, Mitchell needs the same treatment to get dogged on.
That's fine. A majority of the time, he is the one pulling the weight. No, not
he is. I know he. I watched the guy drop 45 on the Wizards because the rest of the Cavs team didn't show up when I was there in DC.
But that's the typical case for the Cavaliers.
But then they went and get a guy like Harden, and Harden like gets you 22. But guess what? He's 1 of 7 from 3 with 7 turnovers.
That's your loser right there. That's your loser. Let's just say that those passes that I'm gonna assume that he was attempting to pass. Let's just say he attempted to pass 3 of them, right? For Donovan Mitchell for 3, that's 9 extra points. Is 32 points enough? Or at the minimum, is 29 points enough? Right? 6 more points puts the Cavs in this game, right? Even closer.
Here's my thing with Cleveland. You can't go 11 deep. Simply can't do that. Too many guys are getting minutes. 100%. Mitchell needs to be playing 40-plus minutes. Harden, more minutes. Mobley, more minutes. Allen, more minutes. Strus, I think, is good at the minutes that he got. Gave you 19 off the bench. I think what I'm looking for from Cleveland is they have a tendency to wilt, and I don't want to see him wilt. I want to see Mitchell do whatever it takes to get his team to win, because I've seen it.
Yep. I mean, 4 for 10 is not going to cut it either.
No, it's not.
But like,
it's not.
But like
again,
I think 1 for 7 is not. 1 for 7 is not going to cut it either.
So I think with Cleveland, it really is going to come down to, like, you're going to have to make some tough calls next season in the offseason. If you can't get out of the second round again, like, DJ, it's got to change.
Yeah,
the core isn't working. And I'm not going to say it points to Mitchell, but when you're the star, and
it does not point to Mitchell. No one's blaming Mitchell for any of this. You've got to be out of your mind if you're putting it on Mitchell. Whether or not getting Mitchell out of there helps you for your future is another thing. But like, if you're gonna monsoon this all on Mitchell, you're out of your mind.
No, not monsoon it, but it's a superstar treatment. That's where the conversation has to start. And then, again, because we're having the conversation, DJ, and we go, Mitchell's not the problem, where does the problem then go? Because Harden's out after this season. So then who's your core? Are you going to buy into the too big mentality, or are you going to adopt the Knicks mindset and go one big, 3 wings, and a true point guard?
Yeah. I mean,
So
they've got a lot of issues to solve for sure.
I have Pistons. I have the Pistons in 6.
I don't know. I don't want to go against the Cavs. It's hard. It's really hard as a Cleveland person to go against the Cavs in and of itself, and then you just look at the organization's history, and it's hard to go further the Cavs. But I'm willing to ride Cavs in 7. I'm willing to ride it.
Let's jump over.
I don't love it.
Let's jump over. Let's talk Spurs. Timberwolves. Spurs steal game 1. I think it's just the momentum of the Timberwolves. They bring back Ant. That's a big piece for them. Wembanyama had 15, 11, and 12 blocks yesterday. He had 15. No, my bad. He had 11 points, 15 rebounds, 12 blocks. Dylan Harper came off the bench, had 18. He was a leading scorer. And I think when I'm looking at this Spurs team, and they were right there in this game, man. I mean, 104, 102 is right up there. But Anthony Edwards came off the bench, gave you 18. Randall and McDaniels, Conley and Shannon still contribute at this super high level. Oz Reed's doing the same thing. Gobert's affecting shots, doing what they did to Denver. But, to me, Wembanyama cannot have 11 points in this game.
He can't shoot 5 for 17 either.
He can't not make any 3-pointers either. He makes 1 3 in this game, so it's an entirely different story.
Yep.
The 3-point percentage for the Spurs were bad. Defensively, I'm not too worried about the Spurs. Obviously, we saw Wembanyama go crazy. I do think half of these were goaltendings, but what do I know?
Oh my gosh, De'Aaron Fox 0 for 4 from 3 is well.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox didn't do anything. Well. I think when I'm looking at it, the Spurs, I think will find a way to win this. They're still my pick to win the NBA title. But this game did not give me a lot of positivity coming out of that. Sick arena though, with all the different colors that they're doing. Love that. But I'm looking at the Spurs to win, and I want to say 6, but I got a feeling this is going to go 7, DJ. So I'm taking Spurs in 7. I think it has to be Wembanyama to go crazy again. Wembanyama had a massive effect on Portland. I think he has to have that again for Minnesota. I think he has to I think Stephen Castle has to have a bigger effect. I think Dylan Harper has to go crazy. I think Luke Cornett's going to have to hit some shots coming off the bench and have some effect defensively. But, De'Aaron Fox is going to need to get going. So, here's the thing, too. What's scary is if Ant had 18 off the bench on 25 minutes, give him full-time minutes when he's a little bit more healthy, what happens? And then, obviously, you got to prepare for anybody on this T-Wolves team to give you 30-plus. Randall, McDaniels, or Shannon can give you 30-plus with Edwards. So, and even Naz Reid has the ability to do it. So, this is what I'm talking about, though. The team, Timberwolves are rolling 9 deep. Really, they're rolling 8 deep. Jalen Clark got in, I think, due to some foul trouble. And the Spurs are rolling 9 deep. But, again, they're really rolling 8 deep because Luke Cornett came in at some point because Castle fouled out. So when you look at it this way, I still believe in the Spurs, but it has to be a Wembanyama series. I think defensively Castle will lock down Ant or whoever gets going, but anybody on the Timberwolves can give you 30-plus. So it's going to be a war of attrition, but I like the Spurs in 7.
I think you're on the right track for this series going 7 games, but my hot take is I don't think Victor Wembanyama is ready to carry this entire team to the next round yet. I 100% believe he has the talent. If they go there, it will be on his back. There is just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think Rudy Gobert, which is not a name that I've been expecting to say in this playoff run after last series and how he kind of locked up Jokic. I don't think that he's able to do it the same way that he did with Jokic, but he was really good last series, and I think he's going to play a huge factor on how Wembanyama plays. But I just don't think that Wembanyama is ready to carry this whole franchise on his back yet. And then when he is going to be dominant. He is going to be destructive, and he is going to be a force to be reckoned with, as he has already proven himself to be, just not on the level that I think is ready to carry them past a team that has as many issues in a positive way as Minnesota does, because like you said, Minnesota has dogs everywhere. Anybody can give you 30 points on any given night. If it's not one, it can be the other. They can switch, who they want to have a good night with. And if Victor Wembanyama's not on, this Spurs team struggles. And I think that I think there's enough bigs on this Minnesota team to cause Wembanyama trouble, right? Whether it's beyond the arc or in the paint. So I'm actually gonna go Timberwolves in 7 instead of the Spurs. But I think this is gonna be a crazy series. Just a crazy.
And then lastly, Lakers Thunder. Just again, brace and bear witness to the GOAT, the best to ever do it, LeBron James, play in this series. I don't think any of us think the Lakers have a chance in hell unless Doncic comes back. I hope the Lakers keep it interesting and maybe get to like a Game 5 and maybe not get swept. But they got to battle SGA and the refs. They got to battle OKC playing bully ball and not getting called for it. It's the same shit we see year in and year out with the Thunder. What we saw all season. So, I don't think there's much to, cover because it really isn't going to be that competitive a series if Doncic doesn't come back. And I think the Lakers steal one, but it's going to be Thunder in 5 for me.
I'm not as convinced that it'll be that easy. I think, unfortunately, I'm going to go Thunder as well, but I'm going to go Thunder in 6. It's just going to come down to the people who can hit their shots actually doing so. The score right now, as of the time we're recording this, is 88-73, in favor of Oklahoma City in Game 1. And Austin Reeves is 0 for 4 from 3. 1 for 11 from the field. 1 for 11, Jacob. That is... It's not doable. It's not overcomable, especially from a star athlete like that. And LeBron's giving you 22 points, to this point. They just need to be better. And on top of that, Austin Reeves also has 4 turnovers to this point. So the bench isn't doing them really any justice as far as this Game 1 goes. And the starters for Oklahoma City are putting up numbers. Chet and Shea, 18 points, 20 points, and Ajay Mitchell, 18 points as well. Again, to this point that we're recording this podcast. So, I don't think that Luka really plays a great defensive help to this. Only one can only hope that he comes back and plays an offensive role, or that the offensive role of any of these starters really is going to improve. But unless that happens, this is going to be Oklahoma City. This is going to be their series.
Moving on, let's talk a little bit about some NHL playoffs here. More so about the teams who were eliminated than the preview. I think by the time this comes out, we're going to be 4 games in. So at that point, it's not really a prediction at that point. So just not even going to bother with the prediction side. We'll be giving updates on the TikTok, but that's where I think I'll leave that at that. So DJ, I want to start with probably the biggest storyline in hockey. And I asked you to do a little research here. Whether you did it or not, we'll find out. The Edmonton Oilers have been to back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Lost in Game 7 the first time, lost in 6 the second time. And there was a big question about Connor McDavid. Some say he's the best hockey player to ever skate with Crosby and Gretzky. The best we're probably ever going to see, DJ. See him if you can. He's great. And actually incredible. But now they got eliminated again in the first round. And they lost to an Anaheim team that I don't think they should have lost to. And they lost to an Anaheim team in 6. And the basis really is for lack of goaltending, which has been the kryptonite of the Oilers. But they don't have the same defense core that they've had in the past. They, all these things that you need to be a successful hockey team. The Edmonton Oilers are simply not doing that. And I think for McDavid, he's got 2 more years on his deal before he hits the free agent market. And I think Drysdale knows it, McDavid knows it. They all know that the team is not good enough to win. The goaltending they know is not good enough to win. The defense is not good enough to win. And I think McDavid's probably going to leave in 2 years. But the question then becomes for McDavid and the Oilers is what can they do in the next 2 years? I think the biggest thing you have to address is goaltending. I think for them, you have to give up the capital to go get a guy like Philip Gustafsson in Minnesota. where Minnesota's riding the hot hand of a rookie goaltender right now in Jesper Wallstedt, who, funny enough, DJ, was an Edmonton Oilers prospect back in the day before they traded him. In some like throwaway trade in like 2022, I think. Like, that's the first move, is you have to go get a goaltender. I think you need to add some depth to the to your defense core. It's just not good enough at this moment in time. Ekholm and Bouchard and Nurse are just not going to get it done. And then I think they need to upgrade more the bottom six of their teams, because I think they're not where they were the couple years that they went on the cup run. But DJ, my question to you was in our text messages, I want you to I want this to be relatable to our fans to understand the severity to the dealers, the severity of this situation that the Oilers are in with McDavid. And I said, let's throw out some NBA, NFL comparisons. The first one I said, DJ, was Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
And I think that's a very easy one, because the Buffalo Bills, since Josh Allen's presence, has been a continuous playoff or a continuous regular season monster, right? With the potential in the playoffs to win it all, but they miss a piece or two that is just a drastic weakness that could get you
wide
through
receiver.
Maybe round one, maybe round two.
Bills.
Exactly.
The ineptitude to solve that issue, truly.
Exactly. And you know what? I actually went a step beyond the NFL, because Josh Allen was the perfect comparison, right? You could maybe throw in Joe Burrow if he's healthy, right? Like that. It's kind of a tough, because there's nobody that's like season in and season out so good. Like if you were to compare to a franchise, maybe the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
They had one a long time ago. They're a franchise that makes the playoffs every year. They just can't make it to the top, or they don't make it to the top.
I think Allen, the Bills is perfect, because Allen is this Hall of Fame franchise guy we're going to remember forever. And he falls short every year to the big dog, which is Patrick Mahomes. Except this year, the Chiefs weren't even in it, and we were like, this is easy. And then guess what? They go and lose to Denver in a heartbreaking fashion in overtime. Right? Defense was a part of it, but he was also a big issue in that game. But which was the first time we said that about Josh Allen in a couple years. I want everyone to keep that in mind. But it's like the first time you lost to the Chiefs, it was defense, and you addressed defense. And then you lost to them again, and it was wide receiver. And then like you go into this game, and it was wide receiver again, and it's still wide receiver. And they like go and get DJ Moore, and I don't know if DJ Moore alleviates that issue still. But now it's like you don't have any edge rushers. So, like, now you got to address edge. And then Brandon Beane trades back in every draft that he was in because he likes 7th round capital for some odd effing reason. So, like, I think that's a very, like, exact comparison is McDavid is Josh Allen and the Oilers are the Buffalo Bills, that they are one piece away every single year. They know what the one piece is, but will refuse to go all in because I think both franchises would rather be really good all the time than go and win a cup or go and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think the only other person that I could like think of to compare him to might be Lamar Jackson.
In the NFL,
athletic freak. Yeah, NFL wise. And then again, for any individual like major sport, like I think I could really compare him to the Guardians, the Cleveland Guardians. You know, that they're a continuous playoff team. They win their division. They just don't have Jose Ramirez, if you really want to get so specific. You know, an all-time player at his position, you know, up and coming, you know, especially a franchise guy that just doesn't have the power. And I would love to call him Michael Trout, but the Angels can't make the playoffs for the life of themselves. So you can't really call him Mike Trout.
Yeah, Mike Trout, though, is a little bit different because the Angels were just never there. They were just never in it. In the one year they
having the two GOATs,
I know, and
arguably of your baseball at the same time.
And then the one year they were there, they made some like mediocre trades and just weren't good enough to make a wild card push. I think if you were to compare like Connor McDavid to somebody in like the NBA, like I would say I would say it was Giannis pre-winning an NBA title because they were like, where's this extra piece? Where's this extra piece? And then eventually he just put it all on his back and won it.
AI in his prime?
Yeah. Pelicans, AD? Pelicans, like they tried to, but it, like, I don't
a little
think,
bit of a stretch.
I don't think AD's on the level of a Connor McDavid, you know?
Yes, I understand. I think like Charles Barkley-ish. Maybe for his era, Charles Barkley, you know, like early years Charles Barkley.
I think if you were to compare the Oilers to an NBA...
I was
I think we were to compare the Oilers to like an NBA franchise. I think a good one is probably
76ers, the Knicks.
So I was gonna say the Knicks. They just don't have that elite like top 5 guy, top 3 guy. You know, those are on other teams.
In historical sense, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, and I just think like the perfect example is Josh Allen and the Bills is Connor McDavid and the Oilers. I think that's a perfect example of like always the bridesmaid, never the bride. You know, like those are tough. I know, but like I think that's it. I think it like man, it's just one of those things where it's like for the Oilers and McDavid, they have to have some really tough conversations this offseason and see where they go. But the time's a ticking, and I truly think McDavid, if they don't win the next 2 seasons, he's out of there. He's gone. So
I think that's a very fair assessment, Jacob. And then you look at like a team like the
Tampa
Lightning,
Bay,
going down in 7 games to the Canadiens, Jacob.
I think for Tampa, it's 2 things. Montreal had a hell of a game plan, right? They took away the power play, which is Tampa Bay's biggest strength. Ironically, like Vasilevsky didn't have to do a whole lot, but yet they found 2 to get past Vasilevsky, even though one of them was so fluky. But the defense for Montreal in that game was pivotal. And then the goaltending from Jakub Dubas has been sensational. Simply sensational. In the history of Montreal goaltenders of Patrick Roy and Carey Price, like this is, and Ken Dryden, like Jakub Dubas has a lot of shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But Montreal silenced their best player, which is Nikita Kucherov. Nikita Kucherov, DJ, has been a perennial top 5 NHL player in the league. Top 3. He should have won MVP last year. He had the most points. He had the most assists. He was up there in goals. He was doing it all. But then, for some reason, the last couple years in the playoffs, DJ, he fades away and he disappears. And I think fans were like, well, you gave up a lot of pieces because the NHL salary cap's a problem. Well, guess what? They brought back Yanni Gourde, who was a pivotal piece. They have enforcers like a Pat Maroon in Corey Perry, right? And they even got better with Gensel and Hagel and Braden Point. Obviously, they didn't have Victor Hedman, their best defenseman, and the captain of the team. But, like, I kept saying this is their best chance to get back to the Stanley Cup because 3 of the big bads for them are not in the playoffs, minus the Bruins. The Bruins got limited by the Sabres. And it's just not good enough. And I think Vasilevsky said it. He's like, we can't keep doing this, like, woe is me thing. Like,
right.
We are good enough to make runs, and we're not getting the job done. We're not scoring goals. And then, like, things happen, and it's the Tampa Bay team that like initially lost at the beginning, where they were like on the cusp, and they just could never get over the hump, and they finally got over the hump, 1-2 straight, went to a third, lost the Avalanche in 6, I think. But it just comes down to the simple fact of it's just not good enough anymore. And now, Lightning fans are spoiled. They have been to the playoffs for the last nearly 10 years. You have 2 cups out of that. You know how many people would kill to have 2 cups in 10 years? A ton of people, right?
Anybody on any given day.
So I think for the fan base to be really impatient, I think is one thing, but it's also just like, I think the question is what more does Tampa Bay need to do? And I don't know the answer to that question because it's not a roster standpoint. It's not goalie or defenseman. I truly think it's your best player didn't do anything. He had no assists, no points, which means he had no effect on the game other than get cardio. And I think Nikita Kucherov and company, I think, lacks somebody in that top 6 to be a real enforcer, like a Kachuk, a real like Eichel, get in the paint, grind it, be a nuisance. Like, they don't have that. Like, they had that in Pat Maroon in the bottom 6 when they won the 2 cups, but now he's gone and retired. And I just think for the Lightning, you have to take a long look into the mirror of who you are as a franchise, and where do you think you need to go next? Because a lot of these guys prime, DJ, they maybe got 3 years max before they start to hit the...
Right. I did have a question for you, Jake. Like, how much of this series, like, this was, like, the literal definition of a back-and-forth series. It does just happen to be won by the Game 1 winner, right? It was Canadiens, Lightning, Canadiens, Lightning, Canadiens, Lightning, Canadiens. And the matchups, these were one-score games, with the first 3 of them going into overtime, right? Like, very close, very high-pressure moments all over the place. Tampa Bay shot 29 shots in comparison to Montreal's 9 in Game 7. Like, when you look at this series as an entirety, like, was it just a poor, or not, I wouldn't even say a poor matchup issue, but like a really good matchup that just literally edged out by Montreal? I don't know if that question makes sense.
No,
because,
it is.
Like you mentioned Lightning so much and all of these players that they have, which is very true, right? They've been dominant the last 3-4 years in the NHL.
Yeah, but this Montreal team was nothing to scoff at, man. Like, Newhook's legit. Nick Suzuki is a top 15 player. Slafkovsky's growing. Sammy Blais a big body. Bolduc, Caulfield's amazing. Demidov is going to win Rookie of the Year. Like, they have all these guys, and defensively, Lane Hudson and Noah Dobson, and, like, this is some of the best defense core that I've seen, because Lane Hudson is so good at 22, man. And he has such an impact. And then Dubas has just been sensational at 24 years of age. I think when I look at this series, I truly think, like, if they play 10 times, it might be a coin flip. They play 100 times, it's probably 99. It's 100 to 9, it's 50 to 49. 51 to 49, excuse me. Like, it's one of those series where every little moment counted, and I think when you look at it from, like, a Montreal position, I think you're looking at yourself going, I can't believe we won this series at times. Like, Montreal won 2 overtime games. No, wait, my bad. Montreal won 2 overtime games, and so did Tampa, 4-3. And it's like,
that's as close as you can get. It's literally one moment.
I think it simply came down to when they punched it in, they were able to get the stops. I think Tampa, like, outplayed them at times, but here's the thing. Outplaying does not mean outscoring and winning. Because look at the gold medal game. We got outplayed by Canada, but we won the gold medal match. So, like, I think for Montreal, I think this is an incredible boost to the team. I think it gives them some serious mojo going into the second round. They have a legit shot to beat Buffalo. So they play Buffalo, I think, tomorrow, i.e. Wednesday. So this would be 2 days ago. But they're legit. I think for Tampa, it's just, man, that we didn't get some things to go our way, and that sucks in a series like that. But I think there's bigger questions to be asked for that franchise, because they've been bouncing the first round the last 3 seasons, DJ. So I think there's a lot of question marks being egged on in this fan base, and I think Montreal, I think a lot of fans thought we were going to smush. So, which I think was a gross overreaction to not seeing Montreal a bunch in the playoffs. But this Montreal team is really, really good.
Yeah, Jacob. So I think that was the most surprising. I mean, obviously, I think we had the Golden Knights came back from a 2-0 deficit and won 4 straight, if I'm not mistaken. Did I see that correctly? Because I believe we were talking about that on our last podcast, and they were down 2-0, if not down 2-1, and you saw the Golden Knights coming back. You predicted that.
Yep, they were down 2-1 in the series, and then they came back and won. I was never worried. I trusted in the goaltending. I trusted in what they could do. I just don't think Utah is ready for a moment like that to go win games in tight moments. Eventually they will be, but Vegas has done it time and time again. Controversial end to game 1 last night on a no icing call that should have been an icing for Anaheim, and I think Anaheim's a real frisky team, but this Vegas team's really tough there. Was really surprised by game 1 of Minnesota and Colorado, just an absolute barn burner. I don't love the move tonight that Minnesota did, which is to go to the backup goaltender tonight. Yes, your starter and your rookie gave up 9 goals in an insane game. I would have stayed with him. I would have kept him in the net tonight, let him get a second chance at that. Instead, he goes to Gustafsson, who hasn't started at all in these playoffs, and he gives up 4 tonight. with the last goal being an empty net. Didn't love that move from Minnesota tonight, but Colorado's a beast to be reckoned with. That's why they were my preseason prediction, and looking back, I should have just stuck with that. But here we are, and they're a monster to be dealt with. Wedgeworth's playing great, McKinnon, McCarr, Kadri. We can go on. But yeah, those series are going to be really good. Carolina, Philly. Philly gets a tough break, man. Should have stole game 2 in Carolina, but they couldn't get the job done, man. Unfortunate set of circumstances. And yeah, they go back to Philly. Hopefully Philly can get those wins and get the job done.
Yeah. Who do you have coming out of these series, Job? I mean, we've got the Colorado up 2-0 right now. I know Vegas up 1-0. Carolina up 2-0, and the game 1 starts tomorrow, aka Wednesday, for the Sabres Canadians. Then you had the Avalanche riding all the way to the finals, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I'll go back and go to my preseason prediction. I'll keep Colorado coming out of the West, but I'll go Colorado in 6. I'll go Vegas in 6. I'll go Montreal in 7. I think Buffalo, Montreal will go 7,
okay.
And I think Carolina in 5. It's hard.
You want to say 4. You want to say 4.
No, I was gonna say 6, but I just don't see, like, it's so hard to win in Carolina. It's so loud. The fans are so rowdy. The players feed off that energy. It's a hard atmosphere to win. I see Carolina stealing a game here, going back up to Philly at some point, and then they'll close it out at home like they typically do. So I like Carolina in 5, and then we'll talk third round when we get there.
Fair enough.
Lastly, lightly touch upon it. Brandon Sorsby looks like he's going to be deemed ineligible for the upcoming college football season. Big hit for Texas Tech. Huge hit. Spent a lot of money to get a quarterback. Now you're not going to have one. Transfer portal's closed. You're not going to have a whole lot of options. Unless some guys haven't signed yet for some reason, maybe you can go get a guy. So that's brutal to what should have been a top 5 team in the country with Sorsby at quarterback, and now that's done. Sorsby, there's a talk about Sorsby maybe being drafted in the supplemental draft. I think the last guy worth a mention was Terrell Pryor. So I'm really interested to see if Sorsby does opt to go that route. What NFL teams are willing to take that risk, give up something to go get a quarterback like that. So I'm super interested in that. It's unfortunate for the guy. He has a serious problem, but you knew what the rules were. You overly embellished what it was. Betting on live pitches, ball strike. It is sad because gambling is it's terrible.
It's so easy to do.
It's easy not to do, but it's so easy to do it because they give you these bonus bets. They give you these things. They want you to spend more money. They think it's free, but you're actually spending more money. You're not going to win any money. It's all these different things. A house always wins, but it's also just such a I will get on this soapbox. It's such a backwards way of thinking to punish a guy who has a problem. He made a mistake. He clearly violated the rules. But the NCAA is the biggest proponent of gambling of literally. They have partnerships. The ESPN guys get up there on Saturdays and bet spreads. And these kids, everyone is being constantly exposed to gambling and being told that it's okay and being told that it's not a big deal. And then you got young kids at 19 or 20 going into massive amounts of debt because they want to feel this rush on Saturdays for no reason.
Yeah.
And it's just and then it's hard when guys make their whole careers out of it, you know? You get sponsors, you get DraftKings and FanDuel to come in, and it's you got to do, I hate to say it because I love these podcasts and they probably wouldn't exist without these partnerships, but it's part of my take has DraftKings and they do a touchdown parlay on Sundays, and then the Bussin' with the Boys do FanDuel and they have their 6 games, and it's Josh Pate has his games, and then it's they want to bet by the spread or bet by the book, and it's it's such a terrible set of circumstances. I think Brandon Sorsby is more of a byproduct of the system that's been created in college athletics and in pro sports than I think really what the root is. Is it funny on Twitter to be he needs an interpreter and he Shohei Ohtani and all this different stuff, but it's this guy had a problem, and he was 21, young, had all this money, just gambled it away. I think that's the saddest part, and that he's going to get punished heavily for it. An organization and company making millions of dollars off a gambling partnership,
Right.
and they won't blink twice about it.
So they're going to condone to anybody who actually uses it. That's a part of their
it's sad.
affiliation.
It's sad, and I wanted to say that.
Shame on them. Literally,
Really,
shame on the organizations.
Really. Did we talk about the tournament got expanded to 76 teams?
We did not talk about that, but 2 thumbs down. What is the official rule on that? What are they doing? What
all
teams?
the 16 seeds are going to be play-ins. There'll be some 15s that are going to be playing, some 13s, some 12s, and 11s. And their argument is like, oh, we're going to give the smaller guy a shot, but in reality, they're just going to put in...
It's going smaller than smaller, and they're going to get smushed
They're going
anyways.
to put in a bad Auburn team, a bad Arizona State team, like a bad Indiana team versus like a 31-1 Belmont. Like, that's not... They say it's a win for the little guy, but it's not. It's a win for the small power forward.
Exactly.
And it's embarrassing. The 16 seed thing, I think that one I can get a little bit more behind by, because the reason why the 16 seeds like the play-in game is to say that they won an NCAA game. You know what I'm saying? They have an NCAA win, because those wins count, the play-ins. So like if that part, I'm like, okay, 16 seeds really like it. The coaches say they love it. The players love it, because like they're going to go play a 16 seed and get buzzsawed. So like, not everyone is, UMBC and Fairleigh Dickinson. So like, I think that one I'm a little bit more like
number 1 team like Virginia was.
Yeah, I think that one more is like, okay, give the little guy a shot to go win a game, right? Put that on the resume as like, and then here's the opportunity to go get buzzsawed by Duke. That one I'm a little bit more like, okay, not a fan of that, but like I see why we're gonna do that. But if it's but like if we're gonna allow like Belmont not to get in after this past season, to put in a team like Auburn who was terrible, and a team like Indiana who was terrible, and a team like Arizona State who was sub 500. I'd rather not do it, but they want more money. They want the tournament to start on a Tuesday, so that way they get a full day's worth of games on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then you have the real tournament. Like, it's dumb. And then, DJ, also, apparently the college football playoff is also going to expand to 24 probably tomorrow. Whoa. And that's also dumb, because they don't care about the consumer. They don't care about the consumer. They care about the money. And that, to me, is disgusting. Just the way the world works, but it's really bad nowadays.
Where did you see that? I did not.
Yeah, they're like voting on it tomorrow, I think.
For what years? After the 20...
I think start as soon as 2027. 2027.
Oh my gosh.
And apparently they're trying to get rid of the conference championship games as well.
That's the only way that they can expand it. They would, and even if they went to 24, they'd have to get rid of the championship game and then move up college football by a week.
Here we go.
To make it work. Or to make...
According to On3, not exactly the best source to go. The American Football Coaches Association has voted in favor of multiple major changes to the sport, which include a potential 2014 college football playoff and the elimination of college football championships. They said next year's is scheduled for 2027. They also want the college football playoff to end the second week of January, which I am for that.
For that, pro.
For that, reducing the minimum days in between games to no fewer than 6. They identified the length as a major issue. They need to better serve the student athlete. However, they want to move to 24. Well, the better service a student athlete, I think, makes a lot of sense, because like guys need to get to other schools and transfer, and I know. But Kirby Smart said he was 50-50 on a 2014 model. Josh Heupel says it makes the most sense. Pete Thamel said it would be a 23+1 model.
In what world does it make sense? Please, somebody elaborate on the sensible part.
It's just money. The coaches want all their teams to get in, and it just creates.
Well,
It's just everybody wants a chance at the pie. So
Oh my
it's
gosh,
dumb,
in that
it's
case,
stupid.
James
We're just gonna
Franklin
have
would
like
be,
95
the
in
third
the
highest
season.
paid.
It's just gonna make the regular season kind of incompetent because based on last season, here's who your top 24 teams would be.
No.
Hold on. Your top 20 teams, DJ, would be ready. Hope you're in your seats. Based on the college football. Whoops. Let me see. I'll pull up the last CFP rankings for this. It'll be Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Miami, Notre Dame, BYU, Texas, Vanderbilt, Utah, USC, Arizona, Michigan, Virginia, Tulane, Houston, Georgia Tech, and...
See, the worst part about it is that it doesn't make the least amount of sense, but it's a crime that all of these teams get a chance to play. And I think I said this also, there is no point to these bowl games anymore. None.
No.
None. I think it makes sense for home and home. You're going to have 3 rounds of home and homes. Well, no, because they'll make all of the New Year's 6 games. I don't even know, bro. I don't know. Yeah, there's so much wrong with that. I am having an internal function. Because I did not know that was happening. That wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought they would have switched to 16 first. That at least gives you the first 2 rounds of home and home, and then makes the bigger bowl games, more significant. I feel like that makes the most sense. And not that I'm for 16 teams, don't get me wrong, but that's way more sensical than 24.
I feel like the perfect number would have been 8 instead of 12, but they went to 12. I was like, whatever. But then immediately...
You know what? I would have liked 10. I would have liked 10. You the NFL model.
But here's the thing. But immediately after they get to 12, they're like, we're going to probably bump it to 24 now. It's like, we don't even know if 12 works. And the 4 team had its massive flaws, which is why I was like, we need to increase it, because the Penn State year when they won their conference and didn't get in and rewarded, I think it was Ohio State, which, sorry, but you didn't win your conference. And then obviously the Big 12 got screwed because TCU and Baylor were 5 and 6. And imagine the different trajectory of those schools if they made the college football playoff. You know why they didn't get in? Was because they didn't have a conference championship game.
Yep.
So then the committee just comes up with these dumb ways to nitpick whatever they want. Honestly, do the FCS model if that's what we're going to get to, which is, I think, what we're going to do, which is this 2014 format. But if we're going to do the FCS model, we got to do it right and we got to do it well. But this is you haven't even given the 12 team a chance to work, and you're already moving on to 24 for the sheer focus of money, which is such a bullshit thing to hide behind the student athletes as your reasoning, and it's not. So
I think
these guys make decisions, don't watch college football. They don't.
It's got to be convincing, right? Because what makes college football so great is that people gravitate to games that matter. When games, especially during the regular season, start not to matter, that's when viewership goes down. Why do you think Peacock gets Ohio State Purdue, and CBS at 3:30 gets Ohio State and Grambling University, right? It's because, they're going to maximize the people who watch that specific team. But imagine if you were to get, Ohio State Michigan at 3:30 on CBS, or Peacock was able to get one or the other. Make more of the games themselves matter, and everything grows. Viewership grows. Ohio State, Texas, week 1 does diabolical numbers, right? You take the 2 top teams, or 2 of the top 2 teams in each conference going pound for pound for each other in week 1, gravitational numbers.
And all it's going to end up being is we're still going to watch. I think that's what they bank on, is the fact that we're suckers. And then here's the thing.
Look at the time that we're watching. Take the social media model. How many eyes are on there for how much time? That's what I want to know.
Either way, it's a disgrace, but it's inevitable. But with that, DJ, let's wrap up the show. He has been...
Good, because my cortisol levels are up.
He is the not delightful DJ McCatson right now. I have been Jacob Pro. We have been the Duo D&J. Like, comment, share, subscribe on all platforms. Catch you next time, dealers.